All right. Good morning, everyone. Got some interesting stuff to talk about today. Small caps heating up a bit. So this is the typical cycle here with the small caps. We tend to get a trigger event like EVTV yesterday. And today we've got multiple runners. It's been kind of dead for a while, but EVTV ran yesterday. So this was a massive move. Huge runner into the end of the day, all morning long, held up really, really well into the end of the day. So this is what happens. Things have been kind of slow for a while, but it's almost like we need a trigger event to kick things off to really get the market hot. And we saw that with the SMX not that long ago. When you get one of these runners that's a multi-day, just to show SMX really quick. So we had on the 2-hour chart here, we had this day over here, 11:28 triggered a multi-day run on SMX, which held up for a while. So eventually that did come back down, but that triggered a ton of action in the small cap market. And now we're kind of seeing EVTV running, which ran yesterday, and it's been slow. So this is kind of the first big runner. So when we get a runner like this that gaps and it doesn't just go up and down day one, then we have a possible trigger event to kick off a hot small cap market cycle. So that's EVTV and super impressive run. So yeah, this thing had a 250% move just in the morning, straight up move, and then a nice push there into 11 o'clock. And then it held sideways really nicely. Big flag right there. And then nice end of day move too. So super, super nice move. And then kind of gapping overnight too, which is what you want to see. So ideally this runs for multiple days. This could just be a gap overnight. And then it could come back down. But we'll see what it does. Regardless of how this one plays out now, it looks like it has triggered this small cap wave of runners. So we have ATON right here. Now it's been totally dead before this. So today we're seeing multiple runners. So it's a big deal for the small caps. And so yeah, there's ATON. Huge move there. 280%. That one ran in after hours yesterday. Now it's trying to come down. We'll see what it does. AHMA, this is maybe the main one for today so far. Now this one's Arab Emirates, which is, it's one of the stocks that's known to be a little bit sketchy. One of those, countries. Kind of like the China stocks, people complain about those. They tend to be a little scammy, a little boiler roomish. But yeah, this is a really nice move, and I like them because they can put in nice moves. So it's up 180%, 190, pretty much straight up here in pre-market. So we'll see how that one shakes out too. And there's more. There's a bunch of them. Now keep in mind, the market was totally dead before this. We would get maybe one here, one there. Not really much going on, but here we have Decoy, another one. Now this one is a fresh chart, looks like. This thing just kicked on here on the 8th. So a couple days ago, 3 days ago, this looks like maybe an IPO. Maybe they changed the name. It's possible they did a name change. So that's something that could be a little bit tricky with these. Just check really quick and see if they did a name change. Yes, the symbol formerly known as Solaris Pharmaceuticals. Okay, I changed the name to Decoy January. All right, the old name is SLRX. So that's fascinating. So we've deleted the history of the stock by doing that. It might transfer over, but the charts could be delayed quite a while, or maybe it just never transfers over. But this is truly what Decoy looks like. And so you see all this disgusting history, obviously massive dilutive stock. You know, you see this $10,000 price up here. So they've done a bunch of reverse splits to keep this thing afloat. 1 to 25 reverse split right there. There's more on here. You can't see them all. TOS doesn't show them all, but anyways, resistance at $100, 108. Here's another one. 30, 35. So if that's truly resistance, it's hard to say at this point. This one may be relevant. So maybe the real resistance level is at right around $1.75 for this one. Because, you know, there's just not much volume here. It is actually decent volume, so, but it's so far away. So there's plenty of room for that to run up into 30, $35. The main one is right there, $1.75, 76 million shares traded that day. So that's the most obvious level. So $1.75, we'll keep that in mind on Decoy. Let's go back to this chart here. Decoy, $1.75. We already tapped $1.75, so put a line on there just to keep that level on the chart, because this looks like it has no resistance, but it actually does because of that name change. So just kind of interesting. Another one ripping, and there's been many here. Zaire, Beyond Air, another one. So maybe I'll try this one too. So I got several trades on. BCTX, another one. This one's kind of a straight up and down move. A lot of these are going to be pop and drops, but some of them will be more sustained. This one's too cheap for me. Those are probably the main ones. I kind of like this XAIR one right now. So maybe we'll give that one a try too. And possibly EVTV. Now I'm mostly shorting, so just keep that in mind. But this is also how you find the long setups, because you want to find the sympathy to the main runner. And we're seeing tons of things running right now. So this is the chance. This is the opportunity here to get some plays in and make some money, because it's pretty clear that when this happens, there's going to be runners, and usually the runners will be around for a while. It could be for several days. The best day is day 2, but then you could have waves of these coming in and out. So you might have a a hot period and then a little bit slower period for a day or two, and then it gets hot again. So it just depends how big the trigger is, how hot the move is going to be, and if we're kicking off some sector momentum or not. So that's something to keep an eye on with EVTV. So since this is number one, let's see what the sector is, because it'd be nice to catch the sector momentum. So one more thing on this chart is you have a nice breakout setup, because this thing had to move back here on the 6th, and then it went sideways from that. Never gave it all the way back down to nothing. And then now we got this other trigger day causing a multi-day breakout, which depends how many swing shorts are in that, but that could cause a squeeze because you've got some shorts that are trying to fade this back to nothing. But let's take a look at the sector here and look a little bit closer at this one in particular, EVTV. So I'm just using dilution tracker. Pretty nice site for research. So we have 4.4 million float. Small cap, historical dilution potential. Let's see here. So cash position is nothing. So they need to raise cash. So the hope is, if I'm short, they do an offering. And so they didn't do it yesterday, but maybe they do today. Hard to say. But none of these are going to look great on the dilution front, because this is what they do. You have some warrants here, but they're old, so we don't really care about those. Warrants expiring 2025, not registered yet. There's not that many of them. So they have to do some new dilution. There's no warrant selling probably going to happen. And this is consumer, cyclical, auto manufacturers. So this is the sector which we could see run. Envirotech, vehicles. Let's see here. Zero emission electric vehicles. Okay. Fleet of operators. Okay. Provides transportation service. Academic institutions. So it's EV related. So maybe EV sector, transportation sector. This is the kind of thing to think about. So that might be all we get from that. And the main thing is, this is already kicking off a lot of these small caps. So things are getting really hot today. Hopefully it sustains. Would love to see a hotter small cap market for a while. That's when I start to really do well with these trades. So hopefully that's happening now, but we'll see over the next several days if this sustains. But for right now, it's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to check a couple of these other ones and see what sector they're in too, because sometimes you have the leader will fall off and then you get a new leader running. So AHMA, let's see what this one is. We've got travel services, sort of transportation related. So that's kind of in the same vein as that other one. Let's see here. Planning, management services, travel agency, transportation accommodations, meals. Okay, and again, this is the Arab Emirates, which is kind of known for having some scammy stock action. People do avoid these. And this is a really nice move. So I love these kind of moves. This is what I'm after. ATON. Another one. Let's see here. ATON. What do we got here? United Kingdom Asset Management, Financial Services, biotech company, research and development of what? Some cancer stuff. Okay, totally unrelated. Totally unrelated. And yeah, we can check the potential dilution because the hope is, since I'm short, we hit an offering. But you can never bet on an offering happening. We have a pipe from September. Okay, 3 million of those. That could be a factor. ATON, what else? Zaire. 7 million floats. We got medical devices, healthcare. Beyond Air. Commercial medical device. Okay, biopharmaceutical company. What do we got? What do we got? It's more of like a biotech related. $2 potential dilution, but it's kind of old and there's not many, so it's not really an impact to the stock for us. Nothing else matters there. ATM. Old. Equity line. 20. This is kind of fresh. Registered. So this could become something. Shelf offering for January. That's registered. That could be something. So they could drop an offering on this. So that's nice. And what else? Decoy. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. So the point is, mainly, you're going to have a bunch of runners kicking off. And when that happens, the market could be hot for a while. So that's the hope. It's been super slow lately, but it goes through slow periods, hot periods. There are cycles. So hopefully we can get a nice day. So far, it's going pretty well. But we'll see how this shakes out later today and later this week, too. Hopefully, this runs into next week. We got, I want to see some momentum for the next week or 2 or 3. It would be nice. So that's generally how these small cap cycles kick off. And then you see these runners coming out of nowhere, sparking a lot of momentum in the small cap space. All right. I see you, Scotty. So yeah, small caps looking really nice right now. Hopefully we get that continued momentum because it's been super dead. Not really worth streaming if it's dead. It's just nothing to talk about. But I do have a couple of swings I'll mention briefly, and they're going kind of well so far. Mainly Oracle. And so here's the daily chart on Oracle. So I've been building in a bit on this trend break. And one of the things I like to do with these trend lines on the daily chart, so this is for the swing trade, is when it pokes over that 20 moving average, then I can put a trend line on it. So before that, if you put the trend line on this way, it turns into a big fake out. But this is a lot more clear, less likely to be a fake out. And then plus, I'd like to see that lower low action. I like to see the tightening, consolidation, sideways, and plus you get some sort of news happening, which somewhere back here in November-ish area, they were talking bad about Oracle, saying they overinvested in data centers and they're not going to be positioned very well or something like that. So they're just creating some FUD, driving the price down of the stock, which is nice if you can just keep an eye on it and wait for the bottom to happen and then maybe jump in it, because it's sort of creating a buying opportunity when they talk about stocks like that publicly. You're scaring people out. Plus, yeah, it had this crazy gap and then it filled the gap. So now we have a horizontal level right there. It's sort of testing that level. And my projection and hope is that we see this thing bounce up at least in the 260 area, maybe by February. So that's what I'm going after for this one. I'm doing the Jesse Livermore style pyramiding. So building into the trade as it works. So that's what Oracle looks like. I was really happy to see this dip hold on the 26th, because that was coming down and then it's following that blueprint pattern actually perfectly, because it did the same thing. And sort of a retest of that trend line too. Didn't quite get to it, but you never know how far these are going to pull back on the retest. But then we do reclaim that 20 moving average, and that's kind of where I think big moves can happen. Let's see, is this the one? Yeah, the Bollinger Band got super tight. Just kind of looking into that a little bit, but so that's Oracle, and then CoreWeave is very similar. Just to mention that one briefly too. CoreWeave is more of an IPO from April 2025. So we have this other IPO in the background that's Tesla's IPO. So it is on track to follow that pattern. Very similar move to Oracle. Big wedge there on CoreWeave. This thing has a lot of range. Got to be careful with that one. But it did break out of that wedge really nicely, and it's on track to continue following that blueprint in the background there. So hopefully this will push up towards 150s sometime in February would be the hope. And it's like a data center stock, so it's AI related, and you've got AI. I think AI is just getting started, and we're going to be needing all kinds of data centers and infrastructure to build that out, and power. So I think power is probably going to be a good longer term investment. Data center stocks as well because of AI. So that is the main idea at the moment. There's several other ones that are lining up, but Duolingo may be a trade, kind of an interesting one. Very similar to the UNH trade. Very similar. So hopefully this pulls back some more and reclaims, and then we'll have a potential gap fill in coming right there. So that'll be a 50% trade for that swing if that sets up like that. And yeah, we had Novo. We already sold Novo though. So that was another call out. Been talking about this one. Maybe I sold a little bit too soon, but I sold this one around 57 right there on this gap up day. So it's the third day up in a row. So you figure, it's probably going to pull back, but it actually held and it's still going higher. So super impressive on NVO. But that's what I like. I like these moves that happen pretty quick, within a month or two, hold time, and then I can look for more setups. So that's the kind of the goal with the swings. All right, let's take a peek at these small caps. AHMA looking pretty nice. Potential record day loading. We'll have to see if we hit a loss or not, but if all these pan out, then it's going to be a nice day. Yeah, EVTV probably a gap up short setup. Day 2 gap up short. There's a lot to pick from in small cap right now, so yeah, AHMA could get really crazy, but hopefully it doesn't get blown out too bad. Little dip and then dip and rip type move there. We'll see how crazy it gets. But that is the bet. So it is on the backside of all this action. Usually it's pretty difficult to get through all that resistance. One little trick too is the anchored VWAP, which actually runs right back into this first big day. So that thing is usually a pretty massive resistance level. It did tag that. It went through it, kind of pulled back, and it's holding the anchor midline. So it looks like breakout pullback type action, but I never think these small caps are going to keep going. And usually I'm right. Usually I'm right about 70% of the time. But yeah, another major watch right now is the oil stocks because the whole Venezuela situation. XOM pushing all-time highs. It's really testing it. It had a big move up the other day, pulled back off of that move, and then it's threatening to break out all-time high, so that's going to be a big watch. And it's quite a nice looking daily chart. Now, the thing is with a lot of these moves, especially these crazy news driven ones, is it doesn't go up right away. And people get excited. Oh, starting soon is on. Nice. Good call. I'm a little rusty, huh? But yeah, these moves tend to they don't go right away. And you could imagine it's kind of obvious because the Venezuela thing is happening. We're gonna get all the oil. We're gonna have Exxon go in and Chevron, and they're all gonna go in and get that oil basically, and then we're gonna have the oil. But yeah, oh, so oil prices are probably gonna go down. What's the impact gonna be of this? Oil prices may be down in the long run, and then probably I would imagine these companies are going to go up eventually, but the initial hype phase is usually a shakeout. So if it pokes through the all-time high right here, I would expect it to pull back again, just like this blueprint, which is shockingly accurate with this previous move that's happened. Just pretty much every turn is following. And the next thing in line is the poke over the all-time high level and then pull back because everybody's going to be buying that. Retail's going to get shaken out and then it's going to hold a dip. Then it's going to go for real, probably. Not financial advice. But I'm going to be trying that. And I don't have the whole pattern on here, but But that would be the trigger for me for a pretty massive play if it does that. V diving. So that's the hope for XOM for me. You never know, of course. It could just blast off and just go straight up, but usually it's going to shake out and then do a really nice setup after that. 10% cap on credit cards. Yeah, that's another one. 10% cap on credit cards. I'm watching PayPal for that one because they're not going to be as impacted by that. And PayPal is just in the depths right now. I don't have a position on it at the moment, but definitely watching that one for a move. And you can see it's just doing this choppy fading action at the moment. But there are some things that look nice. It's got this pretty clear bottom trend line. Pretty clear there, and it's cracking that level. But if it shakes out that level and then reclaims, then that might be a buy for me. And we do have a catalyst. So with the news, that's really what these things need, is some kind of news catalyst to get people excited about the stock again. Because on paper, PayPal looks really good from a fundamental perspective, but the stock just does not trade well. Nobody cares about PayPal, so it needs something exciting happening. It needs some news to bring some people back into it. But pretty clear wedge right there. If we get a breakout pullback move right there, that'd be nice. Reclaim of this bottom trend line would be a nice place to start buying, maybe. Keeping a close watch on that one. Lulu, kind of a high tight flag structure right there. We traded Lulu off the bottom. Big trend break there on Lulu. So we had a nice trade on it, and now potentially see this moving average caught back up, and we just shook out the lows of this flag. So if this comes back up over the flag, I might try this again for another leg up. So we had one leg up. How much was this? Like 20%. So we could get another 20% up, maybe a little bit more, because things tend to speed up as things ramp. But might get like a 25, 30% move out of this flag. No position yet, but I'm watching that one for maybe a break of that trend line. All right, let's see here on AHMA. Nice action so far on this, if you're short. Halted down again. I'm still waiting to hit some offerings. We've been close, but nothing yet. I think once the small caps get hot again, which it might be happening right now, then we're going to be seeing a bunch of offerings because we had a phase where they couldn't process any more offerings. So when the government shutdown happened, so I think there's a backlog of those, and they're going to be processed all at once, and then we're going to be seeing probably a big batch of offerings, maybe just sustained for quite a while. But the small caps need to heat up for those to even be relevant. So we got AHMA. We are short this one. We're short ATON. This one's kind of coming back up on me a bit, but we gotta let it do its thing. XAIR. This one looks like it could squeeze. Hard to say though. Decoy looking pretty nice. IOTR probably just comes down more. We'll see. EVTV looks like a classic gap up short setup. Let's take a look at Visa. We had this credit card news the other day, so potentially Visa gets hit because they're going to be capped at that 10% credit, 10% interest. It is up, so potentially that has a pullback to the low 300s, maybe 200s, maybe the high 200s, maybe. The thing is with this news, a lot of times it's delayed, so delayed action on the chart. All right, we're taking a little gain on IOTR. Just pulls back to too much, and then just locking that in. When it almost gives it all back, and then it just doesn't quite keep going, so just be done with that one. Decoy's looking really good. This is like textbook, classic, exactly what I want to see happen. Also AHMA, I mean, that's looking really good too. Always fear the reclaim, but that's the game. Zaire is fighting a bit. This one threatening to squeeze. It's always the same games though. This is kind of interesting thing. Let's see here. So this is just a log of if I intervene with my strategy, I if I do good, I mark it as red. If I do bad, I mark it as green. So over these trades and interventions, they were all red. And I didn't help at all by intervening. If I just stuck to the plan, then I do much better. So it's good to keep track of some stuff like that to make sure you're actually helping things if you tweak your strategy a bit. So, yeah, not a single positive impact by intervening with the strategy, at least in this stretch of trades. Now, sometimes I do help, but that last, stretch there was just not, I wasn't helping at all. So we'll see what Zaire does here. It looks like it's trying to squeeze. It looks like it's gonna do it. We'll see if it has the juice. We need a win. Yeah, we need well, it looks like we got a couple on that's gonna win. We got AHMA. That's looking really good. We'll see what we get. Decoy looking alright, looking really good. Always fear the reclaim, but you know, gotta let it work. ATON. Look at that. That's nice. COF does high rate credit cards. Interesting. Capital One. All right, we just need 0 to top out, and then we'll be in good shape. Visa and MasterCard leaders, perhaps. Yeah, Trump's doing all kinds of stuff. It's like he's hitting every sector. Hmm. There's looking done. Yep. Have to cut that one. Not very cool. Hmm. Charts aren't loading right now. Yours is okay? Yeah, some of mine aren't loading. I probably should cut this AHMA one. That one's reclaiming. Yeah, we'll see. I'll have lower risk on it in a minute. I showed you the track record for intervention. And that's a lot of what it is. It's it's trying to fake you out. So you have to not let it fake you out. So that's part of the battle. But then sometimes it just rips. So there's nothing you can do about that if you're short. See, now it's looking dead again. So my instinct was to cut it, but now it's coming back down. Meanwhile, EVTV is reclaiming. We're not in that one, but that was the runner from yesterday. That kicked off this whole hot cycle we're in right now. And that is pretty fascinating. So this could mean that we're going to see a maybe a more sustained hot market cycle because the leader is staying strong. But we'll see. Ah, COF working, huh? Wow, that's a nice dip. So you got it at 233.53. Nice. Super, super nice. Yeah, that was a good call because that's in play because of the news. So I kind of like the Zare short idea right here, but the problem is with these is they can turn into all day runners like this. So then I just end up taking a double loss sometimes. So I'm not really sure if it's worth it. And that's what would have happened with EVTV yesterday. So I did try EVTV, but very similar kind of thing happened where it does this huge push in the morning and then it looks like it's topping out, but then it ends up holding all day and squeezing at the end of the day. So that would have been a double loss if I had tried again. So that's why I don't like these moves when they overextend like this. Sometimes they're really good, this can fade really good, or sometimes it turns into a bigger move. Out at 230.42. Nice. Nice dip. All right, I think I'm going to call it right there. So far, it's looking like a scratch day. We'll see what happens. We have a chance for some nice stuff to happen still, but we'll see how it shakes out. We did get squeezed on Zaire, which kind of ruined the day, but not too bad overall. Just annoying. We fight again tomorrow, but I'll put some updates in the Discord later. Good luck, everybody. We'll be back at it tomorrow. If small caps remain hot, we'll do another stream.